In every man's life, there comes a choice between two paths. One, a path full of darkness and treachery. The other, a path that is bright and playful. But what the man doesn't realize is that he must either suffer through the pain and treachery while on the path to success, or suffer through the pain and darkness at the end of the path to failure. Alright, so let's talk about self-image. And again, self-image is one of those things that the school system, the modern media has taken and kind of deformed it into its own kind of thing, where they're like, everybody's awesome and everybody's perfect and special and blah 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 blah. And that's cool and all, whatever. But again, self-image is one of those things that is actually super important to success. They were correct in that assessment when they started doing all this about self-esteem and self-image. It is actually important to success. They are correct about that. But I mean, the modern media school system have gone about it in the worst way that I possibly could have seen coming. So today I'm going to teach you the real reason why self-image is so important to success, and why a lot of people have a bad one. So, first off, why is it so important to success? Well, for a lot of humans, really, for humans in general, self image is generally not changed for a lot of people. People don't like to change their self image because a lot of times humans are afraid of change, blah, blah, blah. But your self image needs to change if you want to do anything. If you want to be a boxer, your self-image has to know that, oh yeah, I'm like the greatest boxer in the world. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to be a boxer, because you're going to think, I'm not ready for this. And then you're going to find reasons why you're not ready to fight somebody. And then it's going to all go to hell. You need to have the self-image of whatever you're going to do for your life. If you're like, oh, I'm not really a professional boxer, I just do it as for fun. You're not really going to win fights and become a professional boxer if you don't think you are. Really? I mean, it sounds obvious, but a lot of people don't get it. And a lot of times what holds people back is, while they're changing, they're building more muscle, they're looking as sexy as I am, their self-image isn't really changing. They still think, they're that kind of weak, hunched over, neck forward little guy that nobody liked back in middle school. And what happens is something called the rubber band effect. And, of course, I wasn't the first person to do this. I think I saw from Hamza. I don't know who he got it from, but it was a long thing, but I think it's really important to share. So I'm going to share it with you guys today. And what happens is, your progress is like this rubber band. This starting point is your self-image based on what your progress is. So let's say you're that weak little guy in high school that nobody likes anymore. You're right here. Now, what happens is, you start working out, eating healthier, meditating, and you start gaining progress, but it's a rubber band. And eventually what happens is the rubber band snaps back to your self-image. And now you're back at your starting point. Because your brain hasn't changed the fact that it still thinks it's that weak little loser. So you're going to snap back to this. Like fat people, for example. A lot of times what happens with fat people, they go on their diet, they're still going, but the thing is, they still see themselves as a fat person. So they are on their diet, for a couple months, they're losing weight, but they still see themselves as that fat guy. And what happens is, they snap back to being that fat guy because they still see themselves as that fat guy. So instead of snapping back constantly because we're not changing our self-image, what we have to do is we have to start moving this way with our self image, bringing it with us, bringing it along with us. And sometimes this happens unconsciously. Like, I know when I started working out, I immediately started becoming more like, oh, yeah, I'm strong, I'm cool, and everything like that. So, it was something where immediately my self image started to come with me. My rubber band started moving this direction. But for some people, like the fat guy, they still see themselves as the fat guy. Boom. For me, sometimes I still see myself as the guy who can't get girls. So I can't really make progress toward it. And what we need to do is start doing almost visualizations, kind of making ourselves believe that what we have achieved is true. Now, we don't want an ego where we think that, oh, yeah, I'm better than everybody else when you're not. Like, if I said I was stronger than everybody else with my 195 max bench, I would be wrong. I'm not the strongest person in the world, but am I the strongest person my age? Definitely. My gym partner is almost a year older than me, and I'm still able to compete with him. And out of all the 15-year-olds that I know personally, I am the strongest one. So I can say that confidently. So I can confidently walk around my friends, family, blah, 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 knowing that I am most likely the strongest of all of us, if not one of the strongest there. But that's not something where, it's just my ego speaking. It's something I know has happened because, I go to the gym and I know my maxes compared to other people's maxes, what we normally lift, everything like that. So move your self esteem based on facts. You can't say, oh, I'm the best fighter in the world when you beat one 120-pound, 5'7" guy in a fight back in middle school, because there's obviously people who are going to wreck your world no matter who you are, even if you're a UFC fighter. But if you're a UFC, you can say you're the greatest fighter in the world, whatever. But, people are going to wreck your world. So you can't say you're the greatest fighter in the world. But let's say you work in martial arts and you do point sparring, because it's something I did, and you go to multiple tournaments, and in those tournaments, you get first place all across your county, blah, 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 blah. Then you could say, I'm the best sparrer in the county. I mean, you won a bunch of county tournaments, and you're proving that point. So you have to prove your self-image to yourself, because your brain knows when you're BSing. But also what you need to do is to make sure your brain knows that it's doing well, because if your brain doesn't change at all, you're going to keep snapping back and snapping back and snapping back. Your brain needs to know it's changing, but it also knows when you're BSing, and that will also snap you back sometimes. So be true to yourself, but also be nice to yourself. Realize that you are making progress and you are doing very well, and enjoy that fact. Acknowledge the fact that you're doing well. And like I said, build your self image based on facts. Hope this video helped. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Love you guys. Bye bye.